It's me, Sailor Moon, and it's me, Sailor Neptune. And today we're going to talk about, well, this one thing that I think does need to be talked about. So, alright. In Sailor Moon, there were folks who were unstraight, which is the English word for it. And a lot of folks have their thoughts and beliefs on that and how they were handled between Deke and CLOVERWAY and Unso. Well, first on one side you had Zoisite, who in all the other offshoots of Sailor Moon was a man, but in the Deke offshoot she was a woman. Why? Because Deke knew that there would be, since Deke did that to keep themselves from getting pulled into some kind of bind with folks getting mad and angry and saying that some self who was unstraight was in the show. Because this was during a time where folks felt that if anything had to do with anything being unstraight was wrong. Well, it's not. But there are folks out there who believe that it was not right for someone to either play or speak for a self that was unstraight in a film or a play or a show. So Deke had to do that so they wouldn't get pulled into that bind. But as you go through the rest of Sailor Moon, by the time you get to the third following of Sailor Moon, it comes up again. Yes, Sarah Uranus and myself were unstraight in all the other offshoots of Sailor Moon. CLOVERWAY was in the same bind that Deke was in, but CLOVERWAY chose to call us near kin, which was scathed and shamed and made fun of in some way, because I guess everyone knew what we were. But CLOVERWAY was going to be in that same bind. And this was long before more folks got, when folks had a more understanding of it and more trusting of it and knew how to handle it. So CLOVERWAY had to come up with some grounds to why we had a close kinship. So they said we were near kin. And in some cases, some near kin are close. If they were both born almost around the same time and were raised around the same time and happened to be around each other a lot, then yes. But I know that some folks out there weren't buying it when it came to Sarah Uranus and myself. So, and I know a lot of folks like to talk about Fisheye by the time the fourth following comes up, but after watching the Viz offshoot and also the CLOVERWAY offshoot, Fisheye is a woman in all the offshoots. I know some folks out there think that Fisheye is some kind of over Clover, but I don't think so. I think Fisheye is a woman in every offshoot. So at the end of the day, there wasn't really much they had to do to work with that. But then, you're right, Sailor Neptune, but then came the fifth following of Sailor Moon, known as Sailor Stars, which never gotten any English work until years later by Viz. So there were many grounds to why Pioneer or CLOVERWAY, whoever would have gotten the rights, didn't get the rights. Some folks say because Naoko Takiguchi and Toei were having a fight over how the Sailor Lights were handled in the fifth following. Some say it was the Sailor Starlights, who were two men and one woman, but when they both shape-shifted, they became women, at least in body only. And that would have been a harder way for anyone to work around. When it came to Zoisite or Sailor Uranus or Sailor Neptune, Cloverway and Deke could have a way to work around it. But when you take Dustin and Jordan, those being their names from the follower English work before the true one came out, it would have been harder. And how would they work around it? What could they do that there was nothing they could do? But no one truly knew, because it never truly got put in English until years later by Viz. And a lot of folks say, well, Viz, why did Viz not have to do any of the things that Deke and Cloverway had to do? Well, by the time Viz got to work with Sailor Moon, this would have been 24 between while, the mindset of unstraight folk being being in shows and films and plays had shifted a little bit more than when it was. Some folks were more trusting and understanding of it and could handle it well, but there were still some folks out there that still felt it was wrong. But at the end of the day, there was still more open-mindedness and more understanding going on with it, and more trust there too. Yeah, you're right, Sailor Moon. At the end of the day, it was the mindset that shifted that led it now where it wouldn't have been a big deal. Back then it was. Not that it was a big deal to anyone who was that way, but some folks felt that it was a big deal for a show or a film or a play at that time. So, at the end of the day, I think that the unstraight folk in Sailor Moon were handled in the way that they could be handled. And I know a lot of folks like to play this up to be more than it is. A lot of folks like to say that it was handled wrong and whatever. That's their thought and belief of the work. But so at the end of the day, if it was handled in the only way that would have been handled, and I think Deke and Cloverway worked with what they had to work with, So what is your thoughts on the unstraight folk in Sailor Moon? Do you think Deke and Cloverway were right to handle it the way they handled it, or do you think they were wrong? Let me know what you think about that. That's it. I'm Sailor Moon, and Sailor Moon, Sailor Neptune. I'm gonna get my names. If you like that film, follow us over here at Sailor Moon for Life, or what's the last film we made yesterday over here. Ugh.